once was a boy named Jack, whose father died when Jack was just a baby, leaving nothing but a shack and a tiny patch of land for him and his mother to live on. Jack's mother was strong and proud, but times were hard back then. Once upon a time, in a land of lotus trees and bamboo forests, there lived a little girl known as Little Red Happy Coat. Now, Little Red Happy Coat was 7 years old. Once upon a time, there were two children named Hanselito and Gretelita, who were very poor and had very little to eat. Often, like children everywhere, they would get distracted while doing their chores and begin to play noisy, childish games. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful land of happy people. They had everything, except perhaps a wise leader. Their emperor was not a bad man, but he took so much interest in his clothes that he had no time to run the country. He cut a dashing figure in public, for he spent all his money on new outfits. The only time he was not trying clothes on was when he was trying them out.
Your Majesty.
Once upon a time, in a mystical kingdom by the sea, and a famous kingdom it was, for everyone from far and wide came here to sell, or buy, or barter, or trade. You see, in this kingdom, everything had its price. But there is nothing more costly than greed. Once upon a time, a terrible plague swept through all the lands, claiming rich and poor, king and commoner alike. In the little kingdom of Perk, the plague took its beloved queen, leaving the devastated king to raise his daughter, Princess Ebony, alone. Once upon a time, there was a peaceful kingdom by the sea, where the sun always shone, and all the people were happy and carefree. Everyone, except King Carlos and Queen Maria, rulers of this land. More than anything in the world, they longed to have a child. Once upon a time, on the southern coast of a kingdom far, far away, there was a happy village where once a year the people would gather for a huge celebration. Once upon a time, there lived a tall and statuesque people who prided themselves on their grace and beauty. They loved to dress in fine clothing, which of course made Mr. Bocoso, the local tailor, a very rich man indeed. He delivered such well-made quality clothing and yet still found plenty of time to flatter and entertain his guests. There once was a magnificent kingdom where there lived a nobleman whose wife had died, leaving him alone to raise his beautiful young daughter, Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy merchant, a widower, with 3 children he loved so much he made sure they had every comfort they could want. Some say he spoiled them rotten. The first was his oldest son, Tree. Once upon a time, long ago, there was a nation of people who lived very close to the land. Once upon a time, in a beautiful, faraway country by the sea, lived a happy, hard-working people. Once upon a time, in a beautiful coastal city by a bay, many different kinds of people came to live. Butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, pirates, smugglers, and others, all chasing the dream of gold. With gold being the only thing on everybody's mind, many other things were overlooked, especially the children. But luckily, there was old George the toy maker who loved to see children smile. Once upon a time, far away in the heart of a majestic rainforest, there flowed a great river. Every day, the villagers came down to its banks to enjoy the cool waters. And there, among them, was a woman who wanted more than anything else to have a child.
It must be so wonderful to have a child of your very own.
Once upon a time, there was a tropical island kingdom along the deep blue water where for generations a proud island people harvested pineapples, sugar cane, and bananas. Once upon a time, there was a shining city on a hill called Hamlin. It was a city of riches, surrounded by a great wall that kept all its money in and the rest of the world out. Once upon a time in a magical island kingdom, there was a great and wise king who each and every evening would bid good night to his 12 beautiful daughters.
Good night, Rita.
Good night, Papi.
Good night, Marisol.
Good night, Papi.
Once upon a time in a rugged land of rocky soil and hard-hearted people, there lived a family with 3 sons. The oldest was Axel, who was known throughout the town for his skill at chopping down trees and anything else that stood in his way. Once upon a time, there was a magnificent kingdom where merchants and adventurers came from all over to buy and sell precious jewels and silks. But that's not where this story begins. For you see, not very far away, there was another kingdom, 1,000 times more magnificent. Yet only a few knew it existed. The merfolk were a happy and gentle people, and they loved their ruler, King Young Jin, who lived with his mother and 3 daughters. On this day, everyone was gathered for a royal family portrait, for it was a very special occasion, the 15th birthday of the youngest daughter. Once upon a time, there was a quiet tropical fishing village. Life here was simple and pleasant, filled with the joys of what Mother Nature had to offer. For you see, this was more than just an ordinary village. Everyone felt as if it were one big happy family. As in every close-knit family, however, there is always one rascal trying to leave their mark. And this tiny hamlet was no exception. Yes, even here, in this warm and peaceful paradise, there was trouble. Once in a land of bright sunlight and guitar music, Once upon a time, in an ancient land of rice paddies and cherry blossoms, there lived a young dreamer named Aladdin. Aladdin yearned to create great works of architecture, but because he came from a humble family, his mother insisted that he be practical and work as a fisherman. One day, Aladdin was on his way to the river, but he couldn't resist a quick peek at the Emperor's wondrous palace. Once upon a time, below the towering stone pyramids of a mighty empire, there lived Tizok the shoemaker and his wife Malinal. In a land where warriors were prized above all, the gentle shoemaker and his wife were unusual in that they were known for their kindness to the poor.
New shoes! Me! Please! I want some! Oh, thank you! Thanks! Bye!
A long, long time ago, in a beautiful land where the sun was never too hot and the winds never blew too cold, there lived a tribe of mighty warriors. These magnificent people had many great leaders, but this story is about one in particular, King Midas. Once upon a time, in a land ruled by rhyme, the morning got underway as it did every day. Mother Gooseburg Land was this place's name, and the characters there always acted the same. Once upon a time, there was a retired country western singing pig named Delicatessen Porkchop. Known as Deli to her friends and fans, she loved little pigs. After a life on the road, she went home to Porkachuli, and there she opened a camp for girl piglets. Once upon a time, in a land of endless sand and sun, there lived a girl named Alibaba. Once upon a time, there lived a ferocious guard dog, known far and wide as the curse of crooks, the bane of burglars, the thwarter of thieves, the hobgoblin of highwaymen. Of course, that was all long before this story begins.
Hazel!
Once upon a time, there was an empress who so enjoyed the luxury of her palace that she never set foot outside of it. Didn't need to, didn't care to. And once upon a time, there was also a humble nightingale whose beautiful voice was matched only by the beauty in her heart. And this is the story of how the empress and the nightingale met. Once upon a time, in the middle of the greatest park in the middle of the greatest city in the world, stood a statue in honor of the man who had once run the city, Mayor Prince. Welcome to New Barnyard, a small town in the heart of a farm community. Population 124. Once upon a time, there was a king who had 3 sons, Prince Rip, Prince Bobby, and Prince Gavin. And he was ready for them to grow up and get serious about life. Once upon a time, there was a city called Peachburg. To the outside world, it seemed like a warm and fuzzy place, but some parts of it were really, shall we say, the pits. Once upon a time, in the very heart of winter, lived the Snow Queen. She was beautiful and mysterious, but she was also cruel, since her heart was made of ice. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Imani, who traveled to far-off places, went on great adventures, and lived a life where anything and everything was possible. It all happened in the land of make-believe, which was Imani's favorite place to be. In real life, people often told Imani what wasn't possible and what she couldn't do. And sometimes Imani even believed them. But in make-believe, even your wildest dreams come true. Once upon a time, there was a sun-drenched island blessed with bountiful riches, but the people could not enjoy them because they were ruled by an evil sheriff. Once upon a time, in the land of cunning foxes, speedy hares, and slow and steady tortoises, a gala event was held. All of the characters of Aesop's fables were invited to the greatest library in the land to celebrate their stories. It was a night for the best dressed, the worst dressed, the hot, the not, the also-rans, the has-beens, and the stars. In other words, everyone who was anyone was there.
'cause time takes